Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're discussing the great biotransference of the Necrons. Just how did the Necrontyr react? Spoiler warning to begin, as the events we're discussing today are from the Warhammer 40k novel, The Twice Dead King, Ruin, by author Nate Crowley. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself, without spoilers. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now, one of my absolute favourite things about the lore is just the simple escapism. Being able to dive into a story and just forget everything else for a little while. How the great ones just really draw you in. And well, that's exactly what happened with me with the Twice Dead King Ruin. If you've never read it, I cannot recommend it enough. By far and away my favourite Xeno-focused read. It's got a great cast of characters that draw you in, and some absolutely fascinating insights into Necron culture. It'll leave you with a far greater appreciation for the Necron race. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. Now, one of the most fascinating aspects of the Necron race for me has always been the great biotransference. The moment in time Sarek made his pact with the Catan. It is the defining moment of the Necron history. The moment of their very birth. The end of the Necrontyr. Yet, for as monumental as this event is, we really know precious little about it. How it transpired, how it was implemented across the race, and how, maybe most importantly, the people of the Necrontyr felt and reacted to it. While we may never get the full truth and answers to all of those questions, we have been lucky enough to get some insights within the novel Ruin. The story itself follows the trials and tribulations of a Necron lord named Ultix, a member of the Ithacus dynasty. And during a memory of his past, we get to witness a time when he was still the flesh and blood of the Necrontyr, when, led by his brother Jaceres, they were warring with another dynasty, the Ogdebek. And it's here we get a glimpse of how the first rumblings of Zarek's decision were spreading across the dynasties. Jaceres had been resigned to the war eating up the rest of their short lives, until the rumours had reached the Ithacus line. From edge to edge, the galaxy, or at least the pockets the Necrontyr had been beaten back to, after the decay of their eternal struggle against the Old Ones, had been alight with talk of Sarek's plans. The Silent King, the whispers had said, was about to call a great armistice across all the civil wars that had riven the Triarchy. He had been said to be in possession of a grand new weapon, granted by a benefactor of untold strength, with which he planned to resume the ancient war against the Old Ones. And the word was, he would soon offer power beyond measure to any rebel dynasty willing to rejoin his fold. Now, we've long known that the Necrontyr Empire was rife with rebellion and insurrection in the days preceding the Great Biotransference. However, to see it all laid out quite so openly is still a bit of a surprise to me. Even with these rumours, you can't escape the notion of just what a desperate roll of the dice this all really was from Sarek. Beaten back by the war with the Old Ones, dynasties in open rebellion, how convenient was it for this new mystery weapon to arrive now? And you can trace a desperation within those words. with which he planned to resume the ancient war against the Old Ones. What better way to stop the civil wars than to direct the attention to a more hated enemy? Look what the old ones have reduced us to. Look what the old ones have brought upon us. Well, now we can stop fighting ourselves and get the revenge we deserve. I now have the power for us to win. All those arguments made behind the rumours. It's a very simple yet effective message, yet one he could never have done without the power of the Catan. All perfectly evidenced by the line, he would soon offer power beyond measure to any rebel dynasty willing to rejoin his fold. Simply rejoin me, we'll forget everything that's gone before, and you will be blessed with power beyond compare. It's all showing how stark Sarek's decision with the Catan really was. Refuse their offer, and watch his empire gradually tear itself, and more importantly him, apart. Or accept the Catan's offer, reunify the Necrontyr beneath his command once again, and enact revenge against the hated enemy. Accepting the Catan's bargain wasn't a choice made in the best interests of the Necrontyr. It was a choice made in Sarek's own self-interest. A man determined to hold on to his power. At the end of the day, what choice was there really for him to make? Now later in the story we also get another reference to the time of the Biotransference, when the people of the Ithacus dynasty were actually undergoing the process. And we're able to get a great piece of insight into not only how it all happened, but also how the people of the Necrontyr actually felt about it. We're told the biofurnaces for the world were built away from the settlements, out into the desert. And with an entire world's population, it was a beyond vast undertaking. However, rather than being forced into undergoing the change, it appears the Necrontyr, for the most part at least, were desperate for it. Most of the citizenry were desperate to undergo the change. Ultix's palanquin had been carried here alongside a seemingly endless column of ragged and desperate workers, waiting for their turn to pass the gates. All of them had been so thin. The food factories had been shut down on the day of Sarek's decree, and whatever is left in the granaries is being rationed according to rank. Even now, the sumptuous meats of Ultix's final meal feel slick and heavy in his stomach. But it is surely just nervousness of the change to come that makes him feel so queasy. Many of the commoners had pushed sick carts bearing parents, children, or workmates, their faces etched with the fading hope that the crawling queue would advance faster than death could. But they had been able to see, just as well as Ultix had, the bodies fallen by the side of the line, already half buried by the snow-like ash of the fortunate. For the average Necrontyr, those not ruling the dynasties, you get the feeling it was seen as a measure of salvation, that their lives were perhaps so grim previously, that this promise of power, of immortality, was nothing short of a dream. Why, although the centuries that passed many Necrons came to despise Sarek's decision, it certainly seems he was venerated for it at the time. That he was most likely seen as a true saviour of the race, worthy of renewed loyalty. And the Catan too, for that matter, deceivers in truth, betrayed and shackled later. Here they were looked upon with reverence, with an almost worship. There's a line where Ultix views one flying above the biofurnaces, seeming as if he's feeding upon the ash. Yet rather than be appalled viewing the truth, he can only view these star gods as the ones who recognized his race's plight, gifting them the immortality they always deserved. So for all the possible selfish desperation of Sarek, accepting the C'tan's offer to cling on to his power, the truth is the Necrontyr as a whole were just as desperate to embrace it. From the lowly commoner, desperate to escape their hardships, to the ruling class desperate for their immortality, even those who had forsaken Sarek's rule, lured back by promises of power. While it all may have been begun by Sarek, the last Silent King, the truth is it was the Necrontyr as a whole who willingly walked to their fate. The end of the Necrontyr and the beginning of the Necrons. However, for all of this apparent willingness to walk towards a brand new future, is it all that straightforward? For within those descriptions of willingly walking to their new lives, well, figuratively speaking at least, there were some very telling revelations. How on the day of Sarek's decree, food factories were shut down. How the only food left in storage from that day was having to be rationed out, according to rank or prominence, essentially meaning the average Necrontyr got virtually nothing, as can be seen by Ultix noticing the people were so thin, so desperate to reach the furnaces, literally pushing carts of those they cared about. Far be it a choice of the people, it appears Sarek gave them no choice. Salvation or starvation. In the face of that, what choice did the average Necrontyr truly have? Those opposed were lured back by promises of power. Pharaons were claimed by the lure of immortality. But the people, the real people, they were simply looking to survive. Perhaps there lies the truth of the hatred that some, such as Imhotep, still harbour to this day for their returned Silent King. For me, this is some of the best insight into the history, the makeup of Necron nature, that really we've ever had. A few precious peeks into the one event that defined their entire race, forever changing the fate of the entire 40k universe. Was it the greatest tragedy of their race, or the greatest triumph? A moment that led to their victory over the Old Ones, the shackling of the star god C'tan, and the galaxy being beneath their feet. Immortal. That same immortality that could quite possibly leave them poised to achieve the same victory today. As always everyone, what do you think? What do you think of these insights into the Necron and Necrontyr past? Did the people of the Necrontyr embrace biotransference willingly? Or did they in reality have no other choice? With that in mind, are you surprised Sarek has been able to regain control of most of his race since his return from exile? And does it make you view others' refusals, such as Imhotep, differently? I've got to say, finding out about this has made me love Imhotep's resistance all the more. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. With that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.